come out here?
Hi, I'm your LS7 movie guy, PR Marks. This is the recommendation show for all your streaming services and reviews. Let's get started. First up we have is Playdate, a action comedy starring Kevin James and that guy from that TV show Blue Mountain State, Alan Richardson. In a nutshell, this is a afternoon play date between two stay-at-home dads that turns into high-stakes chaos, when one of them turns out to be a loose cannon, a wild card, and someone that doesn't claim to be who he is.
No, brakes! Guys, why aren't the brakes working?
Because I cut the brakes! Wild card, bitches! Yeah!
What? Oh, God!
Right off the bat, this film was ridiculous, but in a fun way. Which is because of the physical comedy that this film has, as well as the silly dialogue and crude dialogue that these actors dish out at one another. I found the characters to be really funny and dumb. I feel like they were over-exaggerations of the actors themselves, or even other characters that they've already played in other roles. But they were still able to act out some good parenting type lessons in this film. The one thing I found really surprising, as well as humorous in this, was the fact that they had a lot of bullying type humor, as well as bully type characters in this.
I'm taking this. What are you gonna do about it?
I don't know.
Well, I'm gonna mount this and ride it hard. Like I did your mom last night.
When it comes to the production aspect of this, I feel like the lighting as well as the special effects didn't work at all. And just felt plain, minimal, rushed, and somewhat unnatural. Also too, I feel like the cinematography was okay, and it definitely worked for this type of movie. But what I will say that definitely did work was a clear understanding on how to deliver fast-paced storytelling as well as great action moments. This is all credited to, of course, of the fight choreography team, as well as the high-speed chase scene team involving the editing. That's because they were able to take classic action moments that we've seen a billion times and make it somewhat fresh or just reminders of things we've seen in the past.
Yeah. Stick around.
With that being said, I feel like this was a good time for some laughs and it was actually fun. If you're a fan of 80s and 90s action type movies with a mixture of Adam Sandler type humor, then I would say this might be for you. I will say though, this is definitely not for people that cannot turn off their brain and just enjoy a stupid, silly movie. But I happen to be one of those guys that likes to watch dumb movies sometimes and just let things just be what they are. And this one's really kind of surprised me a little bit, so I'm going to give this one a yay. But for an audience thumb scale, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5. Second up we have is Hitman, a semi-comedy / crime movie that is loosely based on a true story about a pretend professional killer, Gary Johnson, who breaks protocol to help a desperate woman flee from an abusive husband, but when doing so ends up falling for her and then getting deeper into his lies.
I'm in too deep.
When it comes to the production as well as the directing portion of this, I will say it's on the average side of things, which works well enough for a type of movie like this. I feel what really succeeds in this, if anything, was probably the editing. Also too, the writing wasn't half bad either, which both worked really well on the pacing of the story as well as the tone, at least until the last 10 minutes of the film. I will say though that the director for this definitely had a clear understanding of what he wanted, as well as maybe this might have been a passion project for him. That's because things in this film were showcased as well as portrayed in a very unique way that was all about finding the best version of yourself, as well as finding confidence in yourself.
Don't be a pussy!
When it comes to the actors as well as the characters that they played, I will say that everybody pretty much worked well with each other. But most of them were just fillers and just to service a certain plot or moving a plot along. The only 3 characters though that had any major impact in this movie were probably Glenn Powell's character, the female love interest character, as well as the shady cop character. Cause of course they had the most entertaining scenes when it comes to comedy, as well as romance and a little bit of lighthearted moments. Unfortunately though, during the second act, 2 of them became more like beautiful, sexy eye candy for the audience. Which, of course, if you got the body and you got the goods, I mean, like, why not?
Damn, girl, your body.
In the end, though, I found this one to be okay, but entertaining enough. The only thing I felt that was kind of odd with this one was probably the ending. That's because when it comes to story structure, as well as the tone, it just didn't fit the first two acts. The ending just felt kind of split morally, whether you like it or not. Which came across from an effort standpoint maybe a little too easy pleasy lemon squeezy. So unfortunately I'm going to have to give this one a nay. But for an audience thumb scale, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. Last up we have is Eddington. This is a Western drama / thriller during the COVID-19 pandemic. A standoff between a small town sheriff and mayor starts a powder keg, as neighbors are pitted against other neighbors in Eddington, New Mexico.
Are you our new neighbors?
We're your new neighbors!
So first off, I just have to say, wow. What a crazy, incredible movie this was. It definitely has Tarantino as well as Paul Thomas Anderson vibes when it comes to storytelling, as well has this cinematic look to it that looks like it was shot on film and not digitally shot, which of course showcases some great scenery shots, some great slide shots, as well as following our subject shots. That ultimately gives us great moments of building of tension, as well as chaotic panic between characters. And that's because the director knew exactly how to work with every part of his production team to bring us back, as well as focus on a time frame when the world was on edge, as well as falling apart. The film ultimately just tries to give us answers as well as choices during this pandemic that we know as an audience just doesn't work and just brings more emotional pain and suffering.
Want a hint?
I don't need a hint, Ralph.
But you're suffering.
The actors as well as their characters were pretty much spot on. They all did a fantastic job on portraying people that would live in a small town, as well as how people were acting during the COVID-19 pandemic. Sure, most of the time they came across as delusional, deeply lost, simple but kind-hearted, as well as certain times pretty evil. Especially Joaquin Phoenix. His character as the sheriff embodied all of those. That's because he was able to be likable but also really hated at times playing this character, which gave us some phenomenal, explosive, crazy scenes as well as unforgettable character arcs. If I had to nitpick about anything in this movie, and it's a small nitpick, I will have to say that I felt like the teenage characters as well as their storyline felt a little bit unnecessary. Even though their characters were purposely put into this movie for being disruptive as well as showcasing injustice, I just felt though that they were just extremely annoying as well as just unbearable.
Annoying or pushy?
Annoying.
Overall, I feel like this was the best movie I've seen so far of this year. It just has something for everyone. A little bit of dark humor, some action, great storytelling with a downward spiral of a character. Now, in the first act, it was kind of a slow burn. But when it picks up, it just doesn't stop. It ultimately just takes you on a roller coaster of emotions going up and down, and it just doesn't know when to stop, and it's just crazy. So I'm going to have to give this one a yay. But for an audience thumb scale, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. Well, that's all the time we have. As always, hit that like and subscribe button. And if you like any of the movies we discussed, please leave a comment down below. Have a good weekend, and may the movies be with you. Lates.